here with a layout for Tuesday's inspiration. This is the inspiration for 2 Tuesdays ago. So it was Mel's inspiration, and yeah, it will just be popping up right here for you to see. It's this really cute little wreath of hearts, kind of watercolor feeling to them, very whimsical and kind of sketchy and hand-drawn, and just super cute. And so for this week, I am literally going to just recreate that using my own materials. So of course we're going into the watercolors, and I'm actually going to do this video twice for you. So in this one, I will just talk about the layout and kind of go through the whole thing. I have it sped up, so you definitely get to see a lot more of what I'm doing in a shorter amount of time, and you know, get an idea of how all these hearts came together. In the other video, I actually have a little bit of real time going on at the very beginning, and so I'll let that just play out, and you can kind of see in real time how long it actually took me to paint some of these, and I explain a little bit about some of the watercolor products I have and where things come from. Those are definitely questions I get a lot from people. I think there's a lot of scrappers who want to kind of jump into things like watercolor, and it's hard to know how to start, especially because in the industry, I think a lot of companies have their own supplies, and you know, you kind of want to grab everything from your favorite designers, your favorite companies, but it can be pricey. Scrapbooking is definitely not known for its kind of inexpensive products. It you know, has a big price tag to it, and so you know, I like to share that I often don't have the designer products because I didn't really start out as someone who did this with a lot of money, and so I've just sort of found my own way. I think there's a lot of us out there that do, but sometimes you just need a little bit of extra encouragement to experiment and stray a little bit and pick your own supplies. So I am definitely not knocking the manufacturers, because as I've been able to grow in this industry and experiment and use products that I could afford at the time, I've definitely had the opportunity to grow into more expensive products and find the products that I like and that I gravitate towards. So, you know, a lot of manufacturers make really beautiful watercolor products that are perfect for scrapbooking. Not knocking those at all, but it can be a little bit daunting to navigate if you're not really sure where to start and who to go to. And you know, there can be some hefty price tags attached to grabbing a bunch of new products. So I kind of talk a little bit about the stuff that I use, the stuff that I tend to lean towards, where I get most of it. And I can do other videos like that as well if you want. There was a time when I was doing Dollar Tree and Dollarama hauls and kind of showing you the crafty products that I pick up at places like that, and I stopped just because they do actually take a lot of time to create, and I don't make any money scrapbooking, so I don't have a budget necessarily, like a monthly budget where I could go and shop at those places and then show you what I get. And so I'm not always consistent with that, but if you want to do a shop with me or some sort of, haul video where I show you some of those economical, let's go with economical or thrifty supplies that I get from different places, let me know, because I would be happy to jump in and do another one. Just bring you along with me the next time that I'm doing a little crafty shop, and I can show you what I kind of look for at different stores like that. Maybe you don't need to see me doing that, but if it helps anybody to kind of work better within their budget and have some options, I'm happy to show you that. So what I am doing here, let me explain. I essentially just grabbed some watercolor paper and started doing my hearts. There is that image again, so you can kind of see that I'm going to essentially create my wreath. And I just freehanded my hearts because honestly, I think it looks better that way, and I think that the whimsy of the image definitely leans towards just hand doing your hearts. If you wanted to be more precise, if that is something that you're just not sure that you want to do, you could definitely trace a like a stencil, or you could use a cookie cutter and use the like paint around the edge technique for a cookie cutter, or a toilet paper roll that you shape into a heart. Again, if you're like, Jen, I have no idea what you're talking about when it comes to toilet paper rolls and watercolor hearts, let me know. I can do a tutorial for that. But you know, if you would rather use a shape that is more uniform, you could do that. You could also just watercolor your paper, just, you know, a mishmash of beautiful watercolor you know, kind of paint all over your paper, and then run it through your die cutting machine, whatever works for you. I just freehanded them, and as you saw, I kind of kept my little puddle of reddish pink, and I lightened it up a little bit, and I darkened it a little bit, and I added some different shades of pinks, a little bit of blue to kind of make more of a purple color, and just let the water kind of, you know, blend and do its thing. And my other video, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But yeah, I let that happen, let them all dry. And then I came back and I wanted to give that sketchy feel to them. And so I grabbed a black marker and I did some really kind of loose, sketchy lines around a bunch of them. And then I also used a thicker Sharpie to create a much more bold, dark line around them. And then what I was showing you when I brought them up to the camera a little bit closer is that some of them I cut right on that dark black line. So it's thick and bold and there isn't really a border around them. Some of them I cut directly on the watercolor color. So again, there isn't a border around them. They're just like a solid red or a solid pink or whatever shade they are. And then some of them I did actually leave a white border and left them a little bit less precise, and you know, maybe followed my sketchy line rather than the shape of the heart. I just cut them all how I kind of felt each heart needed to be cut, if that makes sense. So they're all a little different. They're all a slightly different size. Here you can see I felt like I needed some more bold black. So I'm just going to go in and outline a couple of these hearts just along that very edge to get that bold black color. But you know, I just went for it. I just cut them all out. You could use a punch. That's another option if you don't like the idea of freehanding your hearts and then fussy cutting them all out. You could use a bunch of different heart punch sizes, whatever works for you. I also punched a bunch of white hearts, teeny tiny little white hearts, here they are, and a bunch of teeny tiny little black hearts. I literally just scribbled my Sharpie onto some of the scraps of the watercolor paper and punched them out in white. And then with these last few watercolor hearts that I just felt it was already crowded enough, I didn't actually need them, I went ahead and punched those out as well, because you can kind of see there's little wisps of kind of like doodles and little hearts and things all around the outside of the picture as well. And so I wanted to capture that. And so I'm just going to dot these little hearts kind of around the outside. I did even think of going in because it almost looks like these hearts, well, I think they're like little, I don't know, like little heart monsters or something like that, but they have like little eyes and little legs and things. And I thought about maybe not doing that exact thing, but maybe doing like little like wisps that kind of attached these floating hearts into the wreath. But I left it the way it is because I kind of like how airy it is. And even though it's quite concentrated in that wreath and there's a lot going on, there's also this sort of like breathy white space about it that I really enjoy. So I just left it that way. But to give it a different texture that isn't paper, I decided to bring in some sequins. So I just grabbed a couple packs from Spiegel Mom Scraps, some black and white ones, and then these really light, pretty pale pink ones. Nothing too big, nothing too bold, and I just am sort of gently scattering them around that outside especially, and then just a few on the inside. So not too much. I'm not adding any other embellishment. Honestly, it's just the hearts, and I think there's enough going on with just those, and that is exactly what the inspiration image is. So I'm happy to kind of leave it like that, and I think it works really good with my photo of me and my daughter on New Year's Eve. And so I'm just going to end it with a little title. I don't always do that, but I felt like this one needed a title. And that's it. That is my layout. I'm going to leave the links for Hollie, Lynda, and Mel down below. Please go and check out their videos, say hello, and see how they're being inspired by their images. And you can check us out every Tuesday for a new inspiration image and new videos. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, leave them for me down below. You can also find more details on all of my socials. And like I said, I will have a second video with a little bit more information about watercolor specifically. But if there's genuine questions that you have that I can help you to answer, please leave them for me down below. I'd be happy to create some tutorials and just share the things that I've learned. And yeah, that's it. So until next time, happy scrapping. Bye.